what's your emergency?
Welcome back to That Weewoo Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Ellen.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Bex.
Welcome back to Season 4. Thanks to everyone who's been listening to our episodes so far in this season and sharing our social media posts. Okay, so we have to do an extra special shout out. As always, we always love hearing from people, and Kira seems to be getting back to us after every episode. Thank you so much. We really love it when you send us comments. But she's let us know that it is actually possible to use lights on an emergency vehicle without the keys and without the car being turned on, which is great to know because we were all like, how is she turning the lights on? But yeah.
So that was in reference to whichever episode it was when Athena's standing on top of the car.
Yeah, episode 2 of season 4, yeah.
Yeah, with her light, and after it had slid down the hill and been half buried in mud. And then she was able to turn it on. So thank you. That makes a lot more sense now. But she's also saying that somehow I've managed to keep talking when you guys are doing the thirsting over Kenny the whole time. I'm like, thank you. I don't know how that happens. It just...
And we will apologise in advance to you, Ellen, because not only do we get Chim shirtless, but we get Albert shirtless this week as well. So who knows what's going to happen.
I'm not immune to these things. Just for some reason, I'm able to form words after it. Apparently, I don't know. So we're up to episode 4. But before we get into that, Alice, do you want to remind us what happened last week?
Yeah, so last week on 911, we did Lone Star. So last week on 911 OG, which was 2 weeks ago now for us, Eddie found himself under attack by a prying smart device, Hen found herself under attack by a know-it-all 20-year-old, and Chimney found himself under attack by the Buckley family secrets.
And we're going to continue with the Buckley family secrets in this week's episode, which is called 911 What's Your Grievance? It originally aired February 8th in 2021, and the official summary tells us that in this episode, Athena investigates a mysterious murder during a neighborhood block party, and the 118 rush to save lives endangered by a bomb threat. Meanwhile, Chimney has a hard time keeping aforementioned Buckley family secrets when Maddie and Buck's parents come to town. And the triggers for this episode include bad parenting, blackmail, a dog at threat, don't worry, it survives, gun violence, and threat of workplace mass violence via a bomb.
That's right, and I've got to say, Chim is the star of this episode.
He really is.
There's, like, obviously Maddie and Buck are also great, but he just cracked me up all the way through this. It was so great.
Seriously, you're reading the trigger warnings and it's just like, oh my God, this is going to be such a dark episode. I was laughing my head off the entire thing.
Yeah.
It is such a good episode, the way that they weave the intense emotional trauma of the Buckleys with all of the other storylines. Which I know that sometimes, which the show often does.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't many other storylines.
You've got the block party, and then you've got like just Chim with his inability to keep everything together, and then you've got the May
the bomb
and the
threat, I guess,
and the bomb threat, yeah. Which 911 have done before. It's not. We've commented before that the show tends to juxtapose really deep, dark storylines and then like whiplash as they go to the next emergency. But it works in this episode.
Yeah, it's
does,
not so much whiplash. Yeah, it's lighthearted fun, but it's not too light, I guess.
Yes, and it all thematically makes sense.
It does, yeah. And like in character makes sense as well.
So who wrote this one?
This is Nadia. That's all I remember of their name. I will have to look up.
Hang on, I've got it open here. Do I? Nadia Abbas Madden.
There we go.
Who wrote Pinned, co-wrote Pinned and co-wrote The Taking of Dispatch 911.
Which I think are like episodes that we've all highly rated. So
yeah, and this is the first one that she's done alone. So Great job,
or
Nadia.
that she gets full credit for. So,
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm
Anyway,
adding Nadia
we
to
should
my
get
list
into
of
it.
my favourite writers for the show.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nadia. We know you're listening.
Okay, so we start in suburban utopia. Well, potentially. A cul-de-sac where there is a street party going on. There's kids everywhere. There's people with tables of food and barbecues, and they're having a great time.
They're all
Even
having
though-
a great time. Delia's not having a great time.
No, there is one person who is not enjoying the party. And she's especially not enjoying the fact that kids are on her lawn. Even though it's outside her fence, her very high wooden fence. They're shooting each other with water pistols, and she's like, "Get off my property."
Get off my lawn.
Very much so, yes. And one of the boys accidentally shoots Delia in the face with the water pistol. And
Accidentally,
so
quote unquote.
Accidentally
Well-
on purpose.
the camera is kind of like, when they show this, the boy is pointing the gun directly at the camera, so I don't know whether it's just that's where his friend was, but I'm putting a pin in whether it was accidental or not. But Delia is not having it, and she storms off and grabs her phone, and she calls 911. And she's very lucky that it is May at the end of the line, because this could have gone so badly, I think, if it had been any other dispatcher. Because she calls in to report that armed hooligans are running down the street and shot at her.
Yeah. Which isn't a complete lie, but is definitely not the truth.
Well, like, May is immediately thinking armed hooligans as in adults with full guns.
Yeah, with actual
Like,
Yeah.
actual weapons firing bullets, not 8-year-olds with water pistols. Especially, at least one of the boys, maybe two of them, are black. So this could have been a very, very bad situation.
Well, she keeps a very level head about it, and asks if anyone's injured. And Josh, we can see that Josh is sitting next to her, like, listening in, so that at least she's not on her own with this. Like, he's there.
Thankfully, at some point, Delia does actually explain that it's kids with water cannons. And May suggests that if Delia would like to make a noise complaint, she could call a different number, not 911. She doesn't quite get that far, though, because Delia pulls a Karen and immediately wants to speak to May's supervisor. Which Josh is ready to jump in and take the call. May holds up a hand, stops him in his tracks, and immediately puts Delia in her place.
She's her mother's daughter in this moment.
It's so Athena.
It's so Athena.
May informs Delia that using 911 system for a purpose other than reporting an emergency is a misdemeanor under the California Penal Code, which impresses Josh. I don't know whether it's because May is so forthright in addressing Delia, or that she knows the penal codes off the top of her head.
Both? I think both.
Possibly a little bit both.
I'm
Delia is not
impressed.
Delia is not impressed. And she says that if you people aren't going to handle the situation, she's going to take care of it herself. But before anything can happen, we hear the sounds of Delia being surprised. She's talking to somebody else. And then we hear Delia say, you know, how did you get in here? Like, get out of here.
So May, like, pushes the button to dispatch units because it sounds like an assault is now happening. Like, there's sounds of struggle.
There's
We don't
definitely
actually
a struggle
see.
going on.
Yeah, we don't see anything from
No, we
Dahlia's
stay on May and Josh
side. Yeah.
for this.
And May's definitely starting to look concerned, so she dispatches units to a possible assault in progress, but then there's sounds of a struggle, a gunshot, and water splashing. And then there's no response, and May just sort of turns to Josh and is like, what just happened?
And then we go to title card. And when we return, we find Delia floating face down in her pool.
Her now very bloody pool as well.
Yes.
Ew.
And we can see that Bobby and Athena are walking around the outside of the pool.
This is one of those scenes where everyone's wearing a mask, so you have to kind of concentrate on what people are actually saying because you can't see their faces.
Yeah.
But they all do very good eye acting in this scene.
I constantly have subtitles on, so
Yeah, I always have subtitles on, yeah. I can't hear the TV without subtitles.
Sometimes I miss jokes if I don't have the subtitles on, but...
So Athena's like walking around the perimeter of the pool and explains that she had a gunshot wound to the chest and was already dead when the officers got there.
Yeah, they pretty much called the 118 just to get medical confirmation that Delia, who is dead, and like she looks pretty dead.
Like she's face down in the water with blood everywhere.
And she's been there for a while, so... But Chim is on it. So
I don't know how they know that she has a gunshot wound to her chest when she's face down in the water.
I'm just going to assume that they heard a gunshot and they see blood in the water and they kind of just... Either that or Athena's got, like, magical x-ray vision and she can, like, just diagnose just by looking.
Anyway, it's such a good scene. I didn't want to think about it too much.
They might have tried to pull her out already and just sort of left her there because they couldn't... It was just Athena there or whatever.
I don't know. But anyway, Chim...
such a good scene.
Chim,
just keep going.
Chim steps up to do the medical confirmation, but Buck is standing in his way. So he very sort of politely says, "Excuse me," to Buck as he kind of works his way around him. And Buck is like, "I'm sorry, did you just say excuse me to me?"
I look like quietly to Eddie. He's like, "Chimney's being weird." And Eddie's like, "How can you tell?" But yeah, so Chim gets Delia over to the edge so he can, like, assess her. Meanwhile, we've got Dumb and Dumber playing detective over here.
Oh, they're so cute.
It's so funny.
Yes.
So Buck and Eddie have decided that they're going to solve this crime. And Buck, like, looks over and sees that the gate is wide open and there's a big, like, footprint on it. And he's like, oh, whoever killed her kicked that gate in good. Saw a clean footprint on it. And Athena's like, yeah, that was mine.
That was
the
me.
gate was latched, so, like, I kicked it open.
Wait, the gate was latched, not locked? Why didn't she just reach over and unlatch it?
They do mention later that it's, like, locked, so...
It was really high,
Yeah.
and the thing is kind of short. Right?
Anyway, so yeah,
Okay.
the gate was locked, the front door was locked, so Athena kicked it open. And yeah, then Eddie's like, oh, if everything was locked when you got here, how'd the murderer get in or out? And then we get Buck going, it's a locked room mystery. And Eddie going, it's a locked yard mystery.
They're so cute.
They're having the best time. And Athena's like, there's a dead body here, guys.
She's like, are we making a true crime podcast?
Because Eddie's like, what do you think? Home invasion gone bad? Murder for hire? Buck suggests, like, oh, was she married? Because the husband's usually the culprit.
Thankfully, Hen is on the scene and she can just bring everything back to business. She's officially calling that one, Delia is dead, two, that it's possibly a homicide because there are signs of a struggle, including a ripped nail.
Ugh, it's gross.
It was, yeah, they close up on it so many times. It's like, please stop closing up on the...
Yeah,
it's important. You need to focus on the nails. When Hen asks if they have any ID for their paperwork, Detective Romero walks in and tells them, because we already know this, that the victim's name is Delia Narwood. But as he's walking to join everybody poolside, he trips over one of the tiny little gnomes that are dotted around the edge of the pool, and Eddie has to catch him before he faceplants.
I'm like, that's Chekhov's gnome.
There's so many gnomes in this yard that it just reminded me of The Sims.
Yes.
But yeah, Eddie grabs him so he doesn't fall in the pool. And Eddie's still trying to solve this case.
Yeah, he's noticed that there is a pile of mail on the patio table. And he's noticed also that none of the mail is addressed to Delia, and none of the mail is actually addressed to the residence that they're currently standing in.
Yeah, so
which
she was
adds
stealing
another layer.
other people's mail.
Yeah.
And maybe she saw something she wasn't supposed to, and it got her killed. Thanks, Buck.
It's like, turns out to be almost true. The truth. They nailed it, right?
Well,
he's half right.
She was stealing
ish.
He's
the
half
lady's
right.
mail, but I mean,
And
the method
she
of
was
her
stealing
killing
people's mail.
wasn't correct.
She saw something she wasn't supposed to. It didn't get her killed, though.
Like, she
No.
ended up dead because of... Yeah, anyway.
2 out of 3 is not bad for a kid.
They're not bad detectives after
Yeah,
all.
he's a rookie. Give him a break.
Athena is just done with them and calls them Cagney and Lacey, which makes Bobby and Detective Romero laugh. Nobody else gets the reference. Not even Chim, but I don't know whether that's
or
just
me.
because Chim's so preoccupied that he wasn't even here. You didn't get Cagney and Lacey?
Well, I assume they were like oldie-timey detectives, but I don't know who they are.
It's an 80s TV show, but yes, they're detectives.
Honestly, the only reason that I understood this reference is because in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Terry's daughters are Cagney and Lacey.
Oh.
Oh. Sorry, that just added another layer because I did not actually... So they're detectives, but they're female detectives.
Oh,
Yeah, they're women, yeah.
Amazing.
Right, so with that, so not like very interesting choice for a reference. The 118 leave because there's nobody for them to rescue, to save, so they're no longer needed, which leaves Detective Romero and Athena to discuss the crime scene. And we discover
to do the actual
that
police work.
The adults are going to do their work now.
Yes. And we learn that Delia treated 911 like her own personal grievance hotline because in the last 6 months, she made 13 calls. And we get a slight nod to the episode title. So everyone take a shot because the word grievance was used. Obviously, we're not going to get the whole 911, what's your grievance spoken, so I'm just choosing to use grievance as our episode take a shot cue.
Okay.
So, 13 in 6 months.
Can we just say I hope no one is actually using our podcast as like a drinking game because, that would be bad.
We take no responsibility for how hungover you are the day after that you listen.
We implore you to drink responsibly.
Yes.
Which is a nice segue because while we're slowly killing our livers, Chim's making a smoothie. I mean, it could be a frozen margarita, I don't know, but I feel like it's, early enough in the day that it's just a smoothie.
Yeah.
And Maddie is at the Maddie apartment. Maddie is getting ready to go somewhere, and Chimney notices this and stops the blender so that he can talk to Maddie so that we can get a little bit of,
Exposition.
Yeah, exposition. Maddie is going over to Buck's because she needs to tell him that their parents are coming to town.
Chim is absolutely dying with the knowledge that Maddie has given to him.
Oh my god, poor Chimney this whole episode. He's like, that's the thing you need to tell him? Not the other thing that you told me that I'm not allowed to talk about?
He is jumping out of his skin to tell somebody about this. And, to tell Buck about this mainly. He's like, we needs to know this. And Maddie's like, no, you can't tell him. Or anyone.
I do love that Chim's like, I'm not allowed to talk about it. And Maddie's just like, and yet here you are talking about it. Like, she's so done with him already.
She's fed up, yeah. I'm so glad I told you about this.
The point is that Maddie says that all she really needs to tell Buck is that their parents are coming to LA. And then she stops and asks Chim, how do you think he's going to take it? At which point, Chim has returned back to his smoothie, and he gives her the deadliest side-eye over his shoulder before very pointedly turning on the blender. That's his answer.
Like, it's the best passive aggression.
And it's obvious, it's not a bad response, because then we cut to Buck and he is absolutely shocked, like someone has just stuck him in a blender and pressed full power. He doesn't understand why, one, Maddie has invited their parents to come to LA, and he is just learning this now.
Yeah, so Maddie's excuse is that Buck was in Texas.
Which they had to throw in for, like, continuity's sake. I'm like, ma'am, phones exist. I'm like, Texas is south, but it's not like another country. You could have at least texted him.
Yeah, he was on his phone. He was on Insta that whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Buck's real mad about it. He's like, you're just telling me now that they've crossed the California state line and it's too late for me to talk you out of it.
Which is probably why she held off so long.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, he does not understand why she's invited them. And Maddie's like, I just want my little girl to have a normal family, you know, uncles and grandparents that she might actually know. And Buck's like, well, maybe you should have got knocked up by a guy who has one of those.
Which is so savage.
Damn.
Like, that's so mean.
Chim's not even there to...
Albert is right there.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
But
that's mean.
Yes, that's a very low blow. But what I love is that Buck eventually comes around to the fact that his parents are going to be there, but he tells Maddie, it reminds her that they are a team. They are going to put up a united front. You are not allowed to leave me alone with them. And Maddie's like, I promise I won't. And don't worry, Chimney's going to be there too. And then she stops for a second and goes, and Albert. Buck's like, Albert's coming?
At this point, I'm like, what? Why does he not want to... Like, what has happened? Like, why does he not want to be left alone with them? Like, my mind was going some weird places here. Because amazingly, I hadn't been spoiled for this secret.
Yeah,
so
well, you
this
still
episode
haven't.
was
You still
so
don't,
great.
Like,
yeah, well, I still don't know.
Part of it,
yeah.
You still don't know. Yeah, which is, I was the same. I had no idea, and it was nice, like, because I did not avoid spoilers at all, and it was nice having no idea what happened here.
Yeah, and the reveal was so gradual in this episode. It was great, brilliantly done. Anyway, Albert will be there, and we cut to a basketball court where the brains of everyone check out because both Chim and Albert have no shirts on and are playing basketball and sweating in a quite attractive way.
They are both in very good shape.
Yes.
It is a very good scene. I've said it before, I'll say again, I don't know what was going on with Kenny in season 4 that he was shirtless so much, but I think they need to bring it back.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
So they're playing, they're shooting hoops. Albert is kicking... Albert is kicking Chim's ass. Run DMC's Tricky is playing over the top. And Albert, to segue from our previous scene with Buck and Maddie, asks Chim, it sounds like this is like a yet again, he's asking this question, is why must I be at the family dinner? And Chimney says, because I have to meet Maddie's family, you are my family, ergo you have to meet Maddie's family.
And Albert's like, is this a punishment? Chimney's like, yes. Yeah, he's being weird. Albert says that Buck thinks you're hiding something. And Chimney's like, because I am.
Yeah, Chimney flat out tells him. He's like, yeah, I am hiding something. Maddie told me a secret, a really terrible, life-altering Buckley family secret that Buck can never know about.
Albert's horrified.
Like, she told you?
Like, she told you? And Chim's like, I know. Everybody knows that I can't keep a secret. Except this time, I really, really have to. I can't tell anyone. I can tell you, though. Albert's like, No.
Yeah.
No.
Chim, to Albert's credit here, Chim's like, what do you mean no? I can't tell Hen or Bobby about it. We all work with Buck. And Albert's like, yeah, I live with him.
Yeah. I thought when he said, except you, I was like, oh no, this is going to be one of those episodes where everyone knows before Buck does. Because once you've told one person, then everyone knows because that one person tells one other person and then all of a sudden everybody knows.
Which, to be fair, is what normally happens in the 118. But this time, we haven't factored Albert into this situation because he sort of nods. All right, fine. Chim braces himself to reveal the big, dark Buckley family secret, and Albert legs it for the hills. Just takes off running.
Yeah, like Tricky starts playing again and he's just gone, like, into the woods. It's like, where are you going?
Anywhere but where Chimney is going to reveal a big, dark secret that Albert then has to keep from his roommate.
I mean, good on him.
Yes. He runs us into commercials. When we come back, it is shift time, and the 118 are in the kitchen getting ready for family dinner. Bobby's cooking, Hen is tossing a salad, and Chimney looks like he's setting the table. Buck is not there, and Eddie tells us when he arrives that he's probably downstairs somewhere on the phone with Dr. Copeland having an emergency therapy session. And
don't blame him.
At this point I went, oh, that's so nice. Buck has told everybody that he's, in therapy. And then I remembered, no, he told Chim, and Chim has told everybody that Buck's in therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Whoops.
Which kind of just, which kind of just reinforces the point that you don't tell Chimney something if you don't want the rest of them to know.
This scene's another one of those really funny ones in this. The whole episode is just filled with funny things. Yeah. So Bobby's shocked that he's again having an emergency therapy session. And Eddie's like, yeah, he had to ask her for some advice on some de-escalation techniques. Bobby's like, what, is he afraid his parents' visit's going to turn into a hostage situation? And Chim just, like, drops everything he had in his hands.
There's this loud clattering noise that attracts everybody's attention. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm just like, was there a hostage? Like, the mind is going crazy at the moment. So yes. And then when he looks back, everyone's just staring at him, and he's like trying to back out of it. Like, none of us has any idea. It's just, if we all knew, we could talk about it, and then we'd all know, and no one would be keeping anything to themselves. And they're all just looking at him like, what are you talking about?
And then he immediately drops the cutlery and is like, I've got to go.
No, but, okay, we got to mention, though, that when he's going on this little monologue about, which basically, I've got a secret and I need to tell you, he does mention that it's potentially explosive information. Which
I didn't even pick that up. That's so funny. Which
sets up the whole, parallel storylines that are going on in this episode, because this whole time, Chim looks like he's about to explode if he can't tell this secret. And he's calling the information explosive, and that all pays off at the end of it. But then once he's said that, he literally runs out of the kitchen, pauses long enough to open the safety gate so that he can jump onto the fireman's pole and slide out of view.
Yeah, he doesn't use he slides on the fireman's pole and just bolts. And Eddie's like, do we even want to know what that's about? And Bobby's like, nope.
It's just, I love that just this little, hesitation where he has to stop and open the gate. It would have been quicker to run down the stairs because there's no gate there, but no, he's got to stop, open the gate, and then step through, close it behind him, and then go down the pole.
It's so funny.
So
Safety first.
The writing in this episode is so funny, and the blocking in this episode is so great. Just these little moments.
Kenny's acting is just so on point.
Yes.
I love him so much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We do have to do a quite quick segue over to Michael's apartment because we need to keep going with May's storyline, where she is having trouble dealing with the fact that she was on the phone when Delia was shot.
Yeah, so rather than having her mandated therapy that she was supposed to be going to last episode, is that last episode? Maybe 2? Anyway,
Last
she's
episode.
instead talking to her father.
I'm assuming that this is in addition to mandated therapy. Because the whole point of talking to Michael is that she's trying to work out...
She's trying to avoid talking to her mum about it.
Pretty much, but she needs advice on how to, like, pick up and move on if you've seen and heard the things that she's seen and heard.
Yeah.
Which Michael can't help her with. Because Michael says that Athena never bought that home. She took off the uniform and she left everything, like, at work. So he never had to deal with the after effects of a bad call with Athena.
But in the end, he tells her to go and talk to her mum because he can't help, but she probably can. So
she probably could. But Athena's a little bit busy. She's trying to solve a possible murder. So she and Romero are back in Delia's neighborhood, and they are about to interview all of the neighbors.
I was just not interested in this at all. I'm like, going back to the Buckleys, I want to know what's happening with them.
See,
we have to go through this murder. Come on.
I like Romero. I think he's fun. So I
gotta say, I did enjoy this storyline better the second time because, the first time I was the same. I was like, well, no, I don't care.
Please tell me.
Go back to the secret.
I'm like, Jim, I need to know. Anyway, yes, they go to talk to some of Delia's neighbours.
Yes, because apparently, in addition to making 13 calls to 911 in the past, however months I said that she'd made them, she had also filed lawsuits against her neighbours, lodged complaints to the building department, the zoning board, and the Department of Waste Management. Which Romero says, well, come on, Athena, everybody knows you're supposed to bring your trash cans in before 8 p.m. Which apparently, yes, you are. I just discovered that the other day.
Before 8 p.m?
Yeah, at least in my council area, there is a time frame at which point you have to bring your bin in off the street.
Really? I wonder if I don't think we have that.
My old council did, but no one ever enforced it.
Oh, yeah, I don't think it's enforced.
And now I live in the middle of nowhere, so, like, if anyone's going to complain...
Nobody's going to care. But apparently Delia cared.
Delia does care.
So Romero and Athena go around to talk to all of the neighbours who were subject to Delia's intense caring about matters of compliance with minor things like she lodged a complaint about an unlicensed business being run out of somebody's house, which was a lemonade stand run by a kid.
Yeah, the flashback has, like, it's on Delia, and she's, like, yelling, like, all sidewalk vendors require business, tax, and health permits. Do you have those permits? And then it switches around, and it's this, like, 6-year-old selling lemonade, and
she just looks up and
shrugs.
It's like, I don't know. Poor little thing.
Then we meet the second set of neighbours, which is Melvin and Rita. They don't appear to have been affected by Delia at this point, but Melvin says that he thought that she was just sort of deeply unhappy. You know, the type, they're miserable, they want everybody else to be miserable too. But Rita says that she won her over with zucchini bread.
Speaking of zucchini bread, she has brought some out and sets them on the edge of the porch and then, like, backs away so that Romero and Athena can actually, like, pick them up. Because we are still apparently in COVID time.
Everyone is maintaining social distancing, which is good to see.
I mean, there was just a block party, but sure.
But did you notice at the block party, everybody was wearing a mask and the tables were spaced really far apart?
Oh, that's so cute. I didn't pay that much attention, honestly.
I just saw the kids running around playing together.
Yeah, literally, I was watching the kids.
There's
but
germs
the kids
all
had
over
masks
that place.
on too, so it was a very COVID-safe
they were
block party.
armed bandits, so...
Armed and masked. Oh my god, they could rob a
apparently.
bank. They probably do a better job than the actual
terrified for her life. But yes, so baking has become Rita's new obsession. And every time the husband turns around, she's covered in flour. Which is now Chekhov's flour.
Because she was one of those sourdough people over COVID.
Yeah. She got sorted into the sourdough house.
Yes. The third set of neighbours that we meet are Joe and John, who are absolutely hilarious because while everyone else is like, you know, trying to appear at least a little bit remorseful over Delia's death, Joe's just flat out, she had it coming.
They didn't like her very much. But they had a good reason because...
Oh, we missed Rita's best line, though, of the, like, interview, is that Athena asks about the block party, and Rita's like, oh, it was such a lovely gathering. I mean, up until the murder.
I will say Rita is hilarious. Unintentionally hilarious,
so
but
funny.
The way that they've written her, she is very funny.
And then her husband's just like, yep, that's Delia. Never missed an opportunity to ruin things for everyone else. It's like, I don't think that's like...
Damn. They're not very remorseful either by the end of it.
But at least that they're not, you know, outwardly glad that Delia carved it. Joe's husband is kind of like, you know, they're investigating a murder. Maybe you shouldn't be, you know, quite so gleeful.
Yeah, Joe's like, well, they know we didn't kill her. You do know that, right?
But the aforementioned good reason is that, to sum up, Archie, they have this adorable little corgi called Archie, who is getting all of the scritches and pets and good boys from Romero at this point. Joe and John's backyard, they are direct neighbours with Delia, and apparently Archie had a habit of slipping under a fence or through bushes. Not entirely sure what's going on there, but he gets into Delia's yard quite a bit. And Delia was very unhappy about that, and she fed Archie some poisoned meat.
Fucking bitch.
Yeah. Poor Archie. Justice for Archie. I mean, he's fine.
He's totally fine. They got him to the vet. I always find it funny when they have animals sort of pretending to be sick. So they had Archie like lying, the corgi lying on his side with like foam painted around his mouth, and you can just see him just sort of lying there with his eyes on his hand, like going, "I'm being the bestest boy, aren't I? Look at me pretending to be sick." I love animal acting. It's so cute.
I love them so much. It like now that I do dog training, some of it I'm just like, God damn it, I can see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was cute because the dog was being the goodest boy while lying flat on the ground.
Yeah. So Joe continues to make himself prime suspect number one because when Athena asks whether they had words with Delia after Archie was poisoned, Joe said I hoped she'd burn in hell, and look, wishes do come true.
Yeah, these neighbours really don't like her.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But apparently, all of the suspects have alibis. Unfortunately, all of their alibis are each other. So Romero thinks that it might be a Murder on the Orient Express situation. Which...
Did we mention that the reason that she poisoned the dog was just because the dog got in her yard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was given. Yeah.
Maybe she did get what was coming to her then.
Yes, yell at 6-year-olds about their lemonade stand all you want, but do not touch the dogs. And I'm just going to check something. This Murder on the Orient Express, I'm pretty sure, is like your classic locked room mystery.
Locked yard mystery?
Locked train mystery.
Ooh.
So the other reason for Romero's reference to Murder on the Orient Express is that in that, spoiler alert for anybody who has not read the classic Murder on the Orient Express and plans to in the future, everybody did it. Who done it? Everybody.
Everybody.
So
everybody did it?
Everybody did it. Like, apparently the victim was found stabbed, and apparently everybody, all of their suspects, had taken turns in stabbing the victim. So they couldn't actually tell which one had killed them.
Like goals, damn.
But but not like in a sort of we're all going to stand over and stab simultaneously. It's like one person stabbed them and then disappeared, and the next person snuck in and stabbed them, thinking they were still alive. And
oh my god, no, okay, I haven't read that. No.
So that's why Rick says, it's a murderer on the Orient Express situation. Maybe they all did it.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we've progressed that storyline, we're going to go back to the Maddie apartment.
The parents are about to arrive, so they're getting everything ready.
Buck's got a lot of wine. He's got red, white, sparkling, just for, Maddie. Oh, no, wait, sparkling wine. Yeah, so Maddie doesn't even get any of this.
No.
Red, white, sparkling in case they want to do any celebratory toasts. Maddie just has to sit out, apparently, because he also got tequila. 2 bottles of it.
Not sure why we needed them. But then Chim takes them and he's like, those are for me. It's like, oh my God, Chim. He's still trying to explode.
Meanwhile, Albert's very mad that Chim's wearing jeans because Albert was told he wasn't allowed to wear jeans. But Chim doesn't care. He's literally opened the tequila and is taking a shot. And like they haven't even arrived yet. Chim's never met them. And he's like, yep, no, tequila.
Buck is absolutely treating Albert like he's another brother, a brother of his. He's like, you stop whining, put the oven on. It's like, whoa.
The Buck sass is definitely out.
He's going to make some baked brie with fig jam. Like, oh, I'm coming over to Buck's place. That sounds delicious. Right? And there's a knock on the door and they all look around and go, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah, then, like, when there's the knock on the door, Buck just throws the cheese at Albert. Mind you, Maddie also can't have soft cheese. So they've got all this alcohol and baked brie, and what's Maddie supposed to do here?
Maybe she can have baked brie.
No.
It's to do with the bacteria on it, right?
Yeah, but you'd have to bake it in order to kill the bacteria. It would be inedible.
Yeah.
You're just heating it enough to soften it. You're not, trying to nuke it. Nobody's going to be able to eat it, though, because when Buck tosses the cheese to Albert literally just throws it straight into the oven and slams the oven door.
Literally just yeets it in the oven, like opens the door, chucks it in, and shuts the door again.
I know you're supposed. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to like wrap it in foil before you put it in the oven. I don't think the wrapper counts though.
No, and I'm pretty sure you're supposed to put it on the tray, like on the oven tray, and not just throw it in the back of the oven.
So baked brie is not on the menu for this evening, no matter what.
No.
That's so sad. What a waste of beautiful cheese.
Well, we're assuming that Albert actually preheated the oven. So I'm
that's if Albert even turned it on.
But yes. Enter the Buckley parents.
Yeah, Maddie opens the door and I'm like, oh, I know that lady. She's from Supernatural.
She's the one that clocked Dean in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, she was the thirsty one who was like hanging out with Eileen.
Yes. Much better character in Supernatural than she is in this. And also, as I discovered when I have been starting to watch classic movies with my kids, she was the mum in E.T.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, I haven't watched E.T. since I was like 8, 9.
Well, that's the great thing about having like 8 and 9-year-olds, that you have an excuse to watch these movies again. Yeah. So not only is it the Buckley parents, but they have come bearing gifts. Because apparently spoiling grandchildren comes with the job of being grandparents.
Yeah, they've literally got arms full of stuff. There's like a rocking chair, which like a rocking horse, I guess, which is an elephant.
It's an elephant, but yeah.
Rocking elephant, cute. Yeah.
And a giant like gift basket thing. But yeah, their dad says that, they're grandparents now, spoiling comes with the job. And Chim very quickly steps forward to introduce himself as Howard Hahn, which is always funny to hear.
And Buck is just awkwardly lurking in the background.
Yeah, Buck is acting like he's never seen these people in his life.
Yeah, I don't know if he's waiting there for them to say hello to him or whatever. But...
I think he was. I think he was waiting for someone to acknowledge him. And then once they're inside the apartment and Chim has sort of been introduced himself, he's like, okay, nobody's going to say anything. I bet it's my turn. I'm going to have to step up and like be the first person to speak. And it's so awkward. Like, you would not know that these are his parents by the way both he and they are acting.
Yeah. Like, his dad just goes, you look good, and Buck's like, yeah, so do you. And
thank God for Chim.
Chim introduces Albert, and, yeah, introduces him as, this is my brother Albert and Buck's roommate. And immediately, Margaret Buckley goes, Buck, you're still letting people call you that? And apparently they hate nicknames.
And we get the most interesting lore drop because Chim looks at Maddie and goes, but your name is Maddie, and Maddie's like, it's the name on my birth certificate.
Yeah.
They
like,
didn't
one,
name her.
I can't believe that Chim didn't know that already. Like, that's kind of hilarious that he's, like, with this woman, has knocked her up and has had no idea that Maddie wasn't short for something.
He doesn't know her full government name. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Albert very quickly goes, yeah, does anyone want a drink? We have many options. I'm starting with tequila.
And then Philip, to make conversation, starts talking to Chim, and he goes, so, Howard, wait, do people call you Howard? And Chim opens his mouth, looks at Maddie. Maddie's like, no. He's like, yes, people call me Howard.
Yeah, Maddie's, like, very quickly, like, nodding her head, just like, yes, people call you Howard. And he's like, yep, yeah, everyone calls me Howard.
So the Hahn brothers are doing the heavy lifting in this social event. So they lead the Buckley parents into the living area. It's all that
tequila, clearly.
He's a lightweight. He didn't have that much, I don't think. I mean, he could have had 2 shots in the time that we didn't see him on camera, but I'm pretty sure it was just one, although it was one very large shot. But Maddie and Buck kind of hang back, and Maddie says, we got this. I don't know if she's telling Buck or if she's trying to reassure herself, but they got this. She holds up her pinky, and Buck links his pinky with hers as like a callback to that really cute moment after that episode at the end of the last season, and says, yes, United Front, we got this.
Yeah.
They kind of don't got this, though.
They absolutely do not have this. After the commercial break, we are still in the Maddie apartment.
Dinner's progressed, though. There's food on the table, although, interestingly, they're sitting around the coffee table, not the dinner table.
Yeah, they're not sitting at the table.
Yeah.
I guess they're having finger food, but yeah.
I don't know if that's just because they don't have enough chairs to fit everybody around the table, but they can fit everybody.
Or maybe this is still appetizers? Like, maybe they're still doing the baked brie?
I don't know. But the Buckleys are sitting around the table. The Hahn brothers are in the kitchen doing something. They're not in shot at the moment. We start with the small talk. And it seems like pretty innocuous small talk. Apparently, Margaret and Philip. We don't find out their names in this episode, but I'm going to use them because I know them. Margaret and Philip drove from... Where are they from? Pennsylvania? It's like Hershey's country. Drove to California in an RV.
Yeah, because statistically speaking, it seemed the safest way to travel right now. Which I'm not sure is... Like, COVID-wise, I guess? But
yes. But then Margaret
anyway.
has to just take it an extra step by saying we didn't want to take any chances giving Maddie's condition and it being a high-risk pregnancy. And here we go.
Yeah.
Because apparently Maddie's over 35, so that puts her at a higher risk, so we all need to be extra careful. And I mean, yes, medically, statistically, yes. But come on, Margaret.
Yeah, like, Chim's like, well, it's not really high risk. Maddie's like, the baby's fine. And Margaret's like, oh, you don't want to take any chances, not when you've waited this long. And Albert's just like, well.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had prepared Albert for
No. Not sure how much of the history Albert knew anyway, like even aside from the mystery. Did he know about Doug? And
Yeah, right? Did anyone tell him about Doug?
Thankfully, Buck tries to remedy the situation, and he's like, oh, Maddie was just waiting for the right time and the right guy, right, Chim? And Philip goes, yeah, God knows it wasn't Doug. Like, oh my God.
oh, yeah. It just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, like Maddie and Chim both like recoil. At this point, Chim's literally got his like hands on Maddie's shoulder, and every time Maddie like goes to like do something, Chim's like rubbing her shoulders and like keeping her down, and it's just like, it's okay, it's okay.
She's like, let's not talk about him.
And yeah, and so Philip's like, oh, of course, sorry, I'm just so happy to see you happy. So Evan, you've been seeing a therapist.
Like your sister might be happy, but apparently you're not. This is Mr. Buck that Maddie had told them. I love, at this point, Chim's like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to go get some water.
He disappears.
Water, probably more tequila.
Oh, it's definitely tequila. His dad wants to know if there's anything that they should be worried about with Buck going to therapy. Interestingly, at this point, Buck does a 180 because while he originally told Maddie and Chim that it wasn't job-related, for the sake of his parents, it's like, oh no, it's the job, it's stressful. And Margaret sort of, to add to the conversation, says, oh, your father and I went to see a therapist, which is news to Buck and Maddie.
Buck had no idea and asks when, and Margaret goes, well, after all the business with Maddie and the husband who shall not be named, we felt like there were some things we needed to work through. And Maddie's like, so you went and talked to a therapist about my problems?
Oh, and it just gets worse.
It just gets worse. Yeah. So Philip goes, it wasn't as if you wanted to talk to us about them. Buck had to call to tell us that Doug was dead. So interestingly, he calls him Buck. He calls him
Buck. Yeah, I noticed that. I'm like,
is
he taking the piss? Like, is he taking a dig at Buck, or is he?
I think they just forgot to.
They just forgot.
I think they just forgot to write in Evan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But anyway, Buck's response is the funny. He just, like, under his breath goes, well, I didn't want you to find out on Dateline. And Chimney's like, gonna start bringing this stuff to the kitchen. Did anyone want to refill while I'm in there? And Albert's like, yeah, I'll help. And Buck's like, me too. And they all just, like, sprint to the kitchen, which is, like, 2 steps away.
Yep. It's just, I hate the Buckley parents.
So yeah, once Buck's safely 2 steps away in the kitchen, Margaret's like, oh, Evan seems good after you called. I don't know what I was expecting, but he seems fine. And Maddie, who is always the best sister ever, is like, yeah, I think he's better at that than we think. Seeming fine.
Because she knows the real reason he's going to therapy. It's not because of the job. It's because, he's sad and lonely.
Yeah.
As Maddie put it.
And has a lot of unresolved trauma that he doesn't even understand at this point.
A lot of repressed feelings that are just in the mix as well, that it's not helping the situation. So we thankfully end Buckley family dinner there.
The world's most awkward dinner.
Oh, God. And we're going to go back to the LAPD because we still have to work out who done it as far as Delia's death is concerned. So Romero has been doing funnily enough, some detective work, which is, really strange, even though he's a detective. He's dropped by Athena's desk to let her know that a uniformed officer was driving around the neighborhood and noticed that somebody had broken the seal on Delia's front door. And when Romero went to investigate, the place had been ransacked, and when he looked a little closer to see what was missing, he found white powder everywhere.
This is the dumbest thing ever, though.
Yeah.
Like, I love this episode and it's so funny, but this whole, crime is just the dumbest crime ever.
So whomever was ransacking the house apparently, dipped their hands in flour. Literally before they started doing everything.
Flour,
not just
with
flour,
the hint
though.
Of sourdough.
But the sourdough's not in the flour. Anyway.
Yep.
It's
No,
really
well, he
stupid.
didn't say that the sourdough was in the flour. It smelled like flour with a hint of sourdough, so possibly she'd been dealing with the sourdough and then wiped her hands on an apron.
Anyway, it's basically now all signs point to Rita.
Yeah, like, because I'm always rubbing my hands with flour before going to go through a crime scene.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, like, a little bit either. Like, it looks like they've just, like, thrown a bag of flour on the dresser.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
They are not subtle in this episode. The whole Delia mystery is very much written for the lowest common denominator. Because while Romero is talking about, he's found flour all over Delia's house, one of Rita's zucchini breads is still sitting nicely wrapped in Athena's inbox. And I don't know whether she's kept it there because it's evidence or whether Romero tried his and the zucchini bread is just so heavy that Athena has just decided to use it as a paperweight.
It's funny because in season 2? Yeah, in season 2, they say that they just throw out any, like, food that they get given.
Yes.
It's
They
well,
don't
you
eat
still
the
have
food.
it. Yeah.
Well, she still has it so that when the detectives are talking about flour and sourdough, we can look down and get the, oh, Rita moment.
So she was looking for something.
Yes. So they head into the evidence room because they apparently took everything out of the house that wasn't nailed down, so whatever Rita was looking for has to be in one of the evidence boxes.
And they find Athena picks up an envelope that has Janine R. Crowder written on it, and they haven't spoken to anyone by that name. So Romero asks what was the house number, but Athena's already way ahead of him. She's like typed the name in to some database that apparently contains all the crims in the city, and found a wanted poster for Janine R. Crowder, and it's Rita, which I think they already established, but anyway.
That's not Rita, it's Janine
She's
Crowder, who is wanted for larceny, fraud, identity theft, and bigamy.
Bigamy. So yeah, Rita's not Rita, and Delia didn't just know that, she had the evidence to prove it.
And it got her killed. Oh.
That's... No.
Way to go, Eddie. I'm so proud of you. You get a cookie.
Wait, wasn't that Buck's theory?
Was it Buck?
Yeah, I think it was Buck's theory.
I think they both came up with it combined.
They were sharing the brain cell in that scene. I didn't really pay attention to who said who. But Eddie was the one who was looking at the mail, so...
Either way, they now have... they have to arrest Rita anyway because, she's wanted for all of this stuff, but they also have probable cause to bring her in to talk about her in relation to Delia's murder. So they go and arrest her, which is the funniest thing.
And her husband is like, whoa, my wife is not a murderer. But she's also not your wife.
And at this point, Rita's head snaps around because she's being led off into a car and Romero and Athena are trying to hold Melvin back. And she just says to the cops, oh, you found out about Marshall? And Athena goes, oh, we thought your husband's name was Jerome. And she's like, oh, damn, now you know about him too. Like, how many husbands do you have? And Melvin's like, Rita! At this point, a crime scene tech shows up.
Rita's like, I can explain everything.
Except crime scene tech shows up and she's got a gun that she found in the kitchen and Rita's like, yeah, okay, that one might be a little bit harder to explain. The writing for Rita is so funny.
It's so funny.
Yeah, very witty.
And the actress is great too. Like, she's just like, oh, whoops.
Yeah.
So now we get more May trauma.
Oh yeah, she's really going the dad route this time.
She's going to talk to everybody before she talks to her mother.
Yeah, like she has 2 dads. She's going to utilize them.
Yeah.
But yeah, she comes home early and apparently she was supposed to be at a pool party. And she does ask like where her mum is, but her mum's at work. And so May explains to Bobby that she was the one that took the call the other day about the lady who got shot and fell into the pool. Bobby's like, yeah, pool party, maybe not the thing you want to take your mind off the job right now.
I love how May goes, okay, I need to know how to compartmentalize. So you've been a first responder for a really, really long time. And Bobby's like, okay. But yeah,
Like,
it's
thanks.
true. It's true.
Yeah, and Bobby's just like, yeah, I can't do it. It's like, well, cool, that's helpful.
No,
He's like,
apparently-
my coping mechanism was a mix of vodka and whatever that drug's called, which I can't pronounce.
Percocet.
Thank you.
But he
Which I
does
do
stress
not
that he
recommend.
does not recommend that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says it's natural to go over the losses in your head, to think about all the things that you could have done differently, knowing now what you didn't know then. And May says she keeps trying to figure out what she could have done better, how she could have saved her. Bobby's like, you couldn't. You're going to lose people and it's never going to feel okay, but that doesn't mean it's your fault. It just means that you care and there's nothing wrong with that. Bobby's the best dad.
Yeah.
He does do good advice. Because I feel like May is coming at this whole compartmentalizing thing of, leaving everything at the job and leaving it behind and coming home and starting afresh, as in she has to literally sort of switch off her emotions.
Yeah, she's taking it very seriously.
And Bobby is telling her that that's not what it means. You can still care about the people that you talk to. You can still feel bad. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to find a way that it doesn't overwhelm your home life.
So now that she's sort of got over her trauma a little bit, she's going to go back to work. And Josh tells her that it's a big day. Are you ready? And she's like, why is it a big day? But Josh takes her to her very own station, her very own desk.
Yeah, she's graduated from training.
Yes.
Apparently, she impressed him with that shooting call, so she is. She's now flying solo.
Yeah, and she goes on to answer a number of calls in which she just snappily deals with everyone.
Most of them are pretty useless. So someone calls to find his gas line, and she's like, no, you meant to call 811. Apparently they tell if there's any utility lines buried in your backyard.
Yeah, I think it's the
like
equivalent of like die before you dig. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Another woman complains that her meter maid gave her a ticket, and May's like, well, was your meter expired?
I like this next one. A young man calls in. He's like, my freaking roommate stole all my drugs. And May's like, I really don't think you thought this call through.
I'll send a policeman right away.
Yeah. We'll dispatch some officers to deal with that. But the next call is the real kicker. And I thought the first time I watched it that it was going to go in a completely different direction.
Oh, I thought it this time too. I'd totally forgotten. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Because his name's Stan. And when May asks, 911, what's your emergency? He goes, hey, this is Stan. You sound nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
and I know,
no, she doesn't
need
this.
I know that there are some sickos out there who tend to use kind of public phone systems for their own, sick pleasure. And I really thought that that's what we were going to sort of start to get here. But it's not, thankfully. Stan is calling in because he wants May to tell him why people lie. Why people say that they care, but they don't. And that somebody needs to teach them a lesson, so he's going to teach them a lesson. Which point May's gone, well, this is way over my pay grade, and calls Josh over. And Josh gets there just in time to hear Stan say that he's going to blow their lying heads right off.
May tries to work out what exactly he's planning to do by, encouraging him to talk more, I guess. Maybe I can help. And Stan makes it clear that he wants everyone to know that it was him that did it and it wasn't an accident. And May's like, you know, he says they deserved it. And May says, what did they deserve? And he's like, oh, my name's Stanley Whitworth and I just planted a bomb. So here we go with the bomb storyline.
Yes.
Yeah, we're at the climax now.
Yeah, so like May goes on break. Like, why is she in the conference room now after the commercial, looking at her phone?
I'm going to assume that they've taken her off because that's like a doozy of a phone of a call to take. It's very interesting that they're using the conference room so much for May. Like, we haven't seen her go into the break room. Anytime she's been taken off the floor, she's sitting in the conference room.
Yeah.
But so she's sitting in the conference room, she's scrolling on her phone, and Josh comes in to update her on the situation, saying that they found Stan's house, but there is no sign of him. They also didn't find a bomb.
But yeah, they did go to his job, and it turns out he was fired last month.
Yeah, they found out he was fired, but they didn't find any bombs. And then May reveals that she's been looking at his social media and she thinks that they might have gone to the wrong job.
And this is why you don't have Maddie train the 911 dispatchers, because then they think that they can do things like stalk their caller's social media. I mean, it works out in this instance, but Maddie, my God, stop it.
But yeah, Josh is like, you shouldn't be doing that, and then is like picking it up and scrolling it anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, bad man.
I'm going to voice my objection for the record, but I'm also going to take advantage of the information that you found.
I'm still going to use your spying, yeah.
Yeah. And they use the information that May has discovered to find Stan's first job. And they dispatch LAPD and LAFD to a office building downtown, which apparently is Gibson Homes, some kind of construction company.
So they're clearing out the building and say that they need to shut off the gas and power. Bobby sends Eddie to shut off the electrical and sends Buck to go up the street and shut the gas off. I thought they had city workers to do that, but okay.
Yeah, but remember, every time they've called city workers, they get it's a 10-minute delay actually getting somebody down.
They've given up and they've just taken the keys now. They're like,
yeah,
we're just
pretty much.
We need you to shut the electrical off. No, the electrical's working. We know.
Yes, Jamal, that is the problem. We get, while those two are off doing that, we get a little exposition with one of the women who works for Gibson Homes. We find out that, yes, Stan used to work for them, and he was... he worked for them for nearly 20 years and before he was injured on the job. And the company blamed him for his own injury.
Yeah, so he blamed the company for cutting corners and filed a grievance over it.
Drink.
Yeah.
But the company said that it was Stan's mistake. So when they fired him, he lost his health and pension. So on Friday, his court was thrown out.
Yeah, he may obviously sued them. Yeah, obviously sued them and court threw the claim out on Friday, which was the trigger for this explosive event. And wouldn't you know, but Stan used to be the demolitions expert for the company. And if you don't know what demolition means, Hen very helpfully tells us that that means that he would blow things up for them.
Yep.
Yes. We get Eddie over the radio that he's got the power out, but apparently there is a janitor that might be having an asthma attack and has collapsed in one of the stairwells. So Bobby sends Chimney in. I'm assuming that he has to send Chimney in because Eddie, even though he is some flavor of medic, doesn't have a med kit on him. So he's sending Chim in with the med kit, which has all of the basics to help with an asthma attack. Right.
Bomb squad rolls up. And that's it. They don't do anything yet.
No,
pretty much.
Like,
cool, we're here to...
Bomb squad's here. Excellent.
Here to hang out, play some Nintendo.
But Chim and Eddie meet, all the power's out, so the escalators are off. And so Chim and, they're crossing over each other. The up escalator is going in the opposite orientation to the down escalator, I'm guessing. So the two of them, like Chim and Eddie, meet halfway up and down.
Yeah.
Like Eddie's on his way up, Chim's on his way down, kind of thing. And Chim asks if he's found the asthma guy. And did Eddie? He got word that a janitor might. I was like, didn't Eddie find the asthma attack guy before? But no, apparently he just got word about it.
I don't know who told him that there was. Yeah, but
I'm assuming he passed somebody that was evacuating the building. They might have passed somebody. I don't know. It's very suspicious, but we're going to gloss over it because for the drama.
It's a good episode. Just keep going.
So Chim's going to go down to the basement.
Yeah, so Chim sends Eddie to clear the rest of the lobby and make sure no one's in the elevators, while Chim goes and checks the garage underneath. And Chim does find someone.
It's not a garage, it's like a plant room, basement, I don't know. It's somewhere underneath. And yes, there is somebody in there with a janitor's bucket. So Chim is all very, very professional. He's like, "Sir, we've got to get you out of here. Somebody said you were having trouble with your asthma. I'm a paramedic. I got some basics." He pulls out a canister of O2. He pulls out a puffer. But when he stands up to offer them to the janitor, he sees that the yellow bucket that the janitor has been pushing around is not filled with soapy water, but with explosives.
Yeah, I don't think that's how you clean buildings, but, you know.
No, and while the janitor is also holding on to a mop, he's also holding on to a detonating switch.
Not even just a detonating switch, it's a dead man's switch.
Yes.
Yeah, he says, "No one can help me now," very dramatically. Like,
yes. Because Chim said, like, if I can't help you, we can get you back to the ambulance to help you. So no one can help me now. At this point, Bobby starts calling over the radio for everyone to check in because Bomb Squad is ready to go. But he calls in for both Chim and Eddie. Neither one of them check in. So he keeps calling for Chim. And I'm going like, Eddie didn't check in with you either.
We don't care about Eddie. It's fine. He's not.
Well, I care about
He's
Eddie.
Just got one.
Are you sure Eddie didn't say something?
Nope.
I thought I remembered him checking in. Okay.
Nope. He comes. We hear Eddie later, and like he shows up later, but we never hear him over the radio checking in unless he
maybe
jumped
he checked in and they just didn't play that audio. It's fine.
I don't know, but like we hear Bobby like every couple of seconds going, "Chim, check in. Chim, are you there? Chim." I'm like, what about the other kid that's like in the building? Stop playing favorites. So while Bobby is like incessantly getting Chim to check in, Stan is...
Bobby fans are having a good episode, it's fine.
Stan is sort of explaining his manifesto. He's like, I blow this, the mezzanine goes, and then the whole building comes down, because he is an expert in that sort of thing. And he's very, very bitter about the fact that he had to disguise himself as the frickin' help just to get back in the building after I gave them 2 decades of my life. They've kicked me to the curb, and now I'm going to make them a pile of rubble on that same curb.
Yeah. And all the time, Chim is just standing there, like not moving, going, "Oh, shit."
Ignoring his radio, where you can just hear chimney, chimney, chimney.
Yeah.
And then we hear
and then Eddie arrives.
Yeah, Eddie's yelling, "Hey, Chim, like, you didn't hear the radio, why didn't you check in? Bomb Squad's moving in." Chim's like, yeah, we'll be out in a minute. And Eddie's like, "Come on, if he can't move, we'll just carry him." And Chim's like, "Nope, no, it's fine.
We're okay.
It's all good." And Eddie spies, because at this point, Stan is kind of standing behind this concrete pillar. So you can't really, he's not visible, but there's just enough of his hand sticking out that Eddie can see the detonator switch. So Chimney sort of very, very clearly says, "Just make sure everybody else clears out." And Eddie's like, "Got it. Just make sure everybody else clears out. I will go tell Cap that everybody else is cleared out." And then literally sprints through the building and out the front to tell Bobby and the Bomb Squad guy that Chim is still inside with the bomber.
And they're all like, oh, shit. There's a lot of oh, shits going on. So Chim's asking him because the guy's struggling to breathe. He's actually in the middle of an asthma attack. So he's asking him about it, like, is that why you filed your grievance? Take another drink. But Stan says he was born with it, and they only got rid of him because of the accident. But Chim tries to give him, like, the asthma
inhaler,
stuff,
yeah.
the inhaler. He's just, like, not coming anywhere near it.
Stan is of the opinion that, he's about to blow everyone to kingdom come. Doesn't matter if he can breathe or not, because it's all about to be over.
And the world's got to know the truth.
And Chim's like, you know what? I get that. You're like a ticking time bomb. If you don't get the truth out, you're just going to burst. And Stan's like, you don't know nothing about it. And Chim's like, you want to bet? And then he looks at Stan and goes,
you got a minute? Like, this is so funny. So outside, the bomb squad are like frantic. So the bomb squad are, wanting to get their men in there. Bobby's like, no, you can't do anything till we find out what's happening with Chim. Eddie's like, yeah, the guy's breathing hard. Something in his hand, probably a bomb or at least a detonator. And so they're all freaking out. Meanwhile, inside, Chim has just completely unloaded the Buckley family secret on Stan. And Stan's like, he doesn't know.
No.
Chim's like, he has no idea.
Wait. The great thing about this scene is it's one of those scenes where there are parallel storylines and parallel conversations, but they keep cutting backwards and forwards, and every time they cut, they make sense. So the bomb squad and Bobby are all talking, and they said, why didn't Chim just run? And Buck says, I don't know. And then we cut to Stan going, wait, he doesn't know? And of course, Stan's not talking about he doesn't know why Chim's running. He's talking about the secret that Buck doesn't know.
Yeah, they kept it from him his entire life.
It's so good. And the best part is, so, like, when we left Chim and Stan as well, like, it was all very tense. They were sort of, like, having a standoff. Obviously, Stan's, like, got the dead man switch in his hand. When we cut back, Chim's, like, leaning against, like, the wall, and, like, they're just chatting.
They're having a chat, yeah.
Stan's completely relaxed. He's completely forgotten about his grievance with the company and the fact that he's got enough explosives to blow them all to kingdom come and back. He's absolutely entranced by this story that Chim is telling him.
So they kept it from him his entire life. The sister too, wow. And then she goes and tells me, and what'd you even say? And we go back to outside.
And Eddie said, well, what was I supposed to say?
Hey, is that a dead man's trigger? Or
So they're still talking about, like, Chimney being in the building. Buck is trying to talk about, like, what kind of trigger, if it's a dead man switch, it's this, or if it's this one, it's that. And Bobby's like, stop mansplaining
we get
demolitions to the bomb squad, Buck. We get it. And so apparently Bomb Squad have got a visual with infrared, and they've realised that they're both just sort of sitting down there talking. And Buck goes, what do you think they're talking about? You, honey, they're talking about you.
And Stan's like, he never asked about it, never suspected a thing.
He was just a little kid. Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, so he was just a little kid. There's a big age gap between him and his sister.
Yeah, Stan can't believe it. He's like, you sure you want to be part of this family? Yeah, and he's into it.
Chim's cute. He's like, well, Maddie's pretty great, and I'm really looking forward to being a dad. Just need to make it through this visit. And if I can just make it through dinner with them.
Stan is all like, wait. There's another family gathering. That is... And then we cut to Bomb Squad.
Very explosive.
Guess apparently, some sort of job site, maybe the previous job, maybe this job, I don't know. They've searched and discovered that 6 pounds of C4 are missing. They're not missing anymore. They're in Stan's janitor's bucket.
Yeah, and Bobby says he knew exactly where to find it, and Buck's like, yeah, maybe Chimney needs to stop talking to him. Could set him off. Sorry,
insert the Archer meme of phrasing.
Literally.
And here we're going to get Chim's big hero moment. Because while Stan has been quite interested in what Chim is saying, his asthma is getting worse and he's wheezing and he's coughing.
Yeah. He says, you got to tell him, he deserves to know. And Chim's like, oh, I've been dying to tell someone. And meanwhile, Stan is actually dying.
Yeah.
He's, like, he's getting a lot worse.
He says that he's happy that he can help Chim get this off his chest. And Chim goes,
such punny
hey,
writing in this episode.
Listen, your chest doesn't sound too good. He bends down and he picks up the O2 canister and he picks up the albuterol, which is the asthma puffer, and he goes, look, just one hit. It's not a trick. It'll just help you. It's just an asthma puffer. And Stan...
Just one hit.
Just one hit. That's important. Because Stan has lowered his guard enough that he's like, yeah, you know what, just the albuterol I can do that. So he reaches for the puffer. Chim drops the puffer, immediately grabs hold of the dead man's switch, and hits Stan over the head with the O2 canister. I mean, he was right. It's just one hit. It's just not the hit that Stan was expecting.
You just bang. Yeah.
It's so smooth. It's so good. And Chim's like,
and I cheered. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Chim tells Stan, we've all got problems. Yours don't give you the right to blow up innocent people. He's still holding on to that dead man's switch, but he kneels down. He pulls something out of his med kit, and it's like a single-use injection of something. I'm assuming a sedative. Jabs that into Stan's thigh. And then finally gets on the radio and calls all clear.
Yeah, thanks for listening to me, Stan.
Yeah.
Finally got it off his chest.
Yes.
The great
Unfortunately, neither the head injury nor the sedative has knocked Stan out completely. So he's still conscious when they wheel him out of the building on the gurney to get him into the ambulance. And as they're wheeling him, they pass behind Buck, and Stan sees the name Buckley across the back of the turnout, and he's like, wait, hey, are you Buck? And Chim's like, oh shit.
Yeah. So Buck's like, yeah, sure, that's me. And Chimney's just like putting the O2 mask back on him, like, sit back, that's it. Yep, the O2 must really be kicking in. Because Stan's like, it's true. And Hen's like, what's true? You're not lying. And Buck's like, not lying about what? And Chimney's like, nothing, gotta go! And just like slamming shut the ambulance door and like smothering Stan with a pillow in the ambulance.
Stan drives away with a nice to meet you, Buck. And Buck's like, what the fuck was that?
Poor Buck is not having a good week.
He's really not. But things are starting to click into place for Hen. So when they go back to the station house, she and Chim are restocking the ambulance, and Chim's a little distracted. He keeps looking over at Buck, who is in the glass onion that is their locker room, because it's like all glass. And
Hen's very confused because this is usually Eddie's job, staring at Buck through the locker room window.
Yeah, but Eddie doesn't usually stare at Buck and then sort of shake his head and sigh very mournfully.
Well, depends on the day.
Yeah, sometimes, I'm sure.
But she finally, like, that final puzzle piece slips into place, and she realizes that the thing that has been killing Chim for the last few days is about Buck. And Chim puts up like a nanosecond of defense and then crumbles.
Yes.
Yeah, he says that he'd love nothing more than to unburden himself to Hen right now, but he made a promise. And he asks if Hen's mad, and Hen's like, I'm impressed. You're growing as a human right before my eyes.
Oh, she's so funny. And he's like, they all think they're protecting him, but, you know, he's the only one who doesn't know, so...
But for the record, Hen
like,
also doesn't know.
I'm not in on it.
Yeah.
Whatever
like,
it is.
I don't want to know. Yep.
Yeah.
You keep that to yourself.
She doesn't try to pressure him to tell her what it is.
No, because she's a good friend.
And she also doesn't want to deal with Buck.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes. All right, one more bit about Rita. I really didn't care.
Okay, Romero has her in an interrogation room while Athena's hanging out on the little observation behind the two-way mirror. And Rita is talking quite freely. She is admitting that, yes, she was married to 3 men at the same time. Yes, she did ransack Delia's house, but no, she didn't kill her. And when Rick
God forbid a woman has hobbies.
When Rick presents her with the gun and says, "Are you sure you want to talk to me without a lawyer present?" She's like, "I am a lawyer." Well, I was a lawyer in Kansas. It was another life. And Rick's like, "Yeah, you had quite a few of those." The gun is registered to her, so Romero is like, "The gun is registered to you. Your gun killed her. We found the gun in your pantry. You kind of see the problem here."
Yeah, but Rita, she says, I didn't have the gun when she was shot. She had it because she was stealing my mail and using it to blackmail me. And then we get a flashback to what actually happened. Well, to what Rita says actually happened. So Delia is going through the mail that she has stolen from Rita.
In the backyard, by the way.
In her back.
On the
patio.
patio.
So Rita appears with a gun and points it at her, and apparently Delia has been asking her for money in order to keep it quiet. And she's like calling her bluff, basically. She's like walking towards her going, "Oh, he's not going to notice the gunshot when you fire that thing or my blood all over you." And Rita trips over one of the garden gnomes that are all over the backyard. And as she kind of steps back, Delia grabs the gun out of her hand. And she says, "If you broke my gnome, I'm going to sue you for that too." So...
Such a lovely lady.
Yeah.
So that explains how Delia got Rita's gun. Romero wants to know, how did Rita get it back? So apparently when they heard the shot, Rita immediately knew that it was her gun, and she thought that Delia had shot someone else. She knew that Delia kept her place locked. Okay, there we go. So it was locked. That's why Athena had to kick it in. But she knew that John and Joe, Archie's owners, didn't keep their place locked. So she snuck into their backyard, because they're out at the block party, and peered over the fence and saw that Delia was floating in the pool. She also saw that the gun had somehow ended up near the bushes, near the fence line. Like, long story short, she uses one of those, like, long stick tennis ball thrower thingies.
It's a ball chucker. Yeah.
A ball chucker. She uses the ball chucker to, one, distract Archie, who has come over to investigate
Is
what
chucker
this...
an Australian term?
We'll find out soon, I guess. When the people who listen to us send us messages going, "What is a chucker?" Chucker is to throw.
A thrower, yeah.
So Archie has come over to investigate what this strange woman is doing sort of in his backyard, in his bushes. So she throws the ball for him and uses the ball chucker to reach through that hole in the fence, still don't know what's going on there, to drag the gun close enough that she can grab it and take it back to her place.
Well, obviously that is the hole that Archie was using to get into Rita's backyard.
But I don't understand why the hole is there.
No.
Like, has he
really
dug
make a lot of sense.
the hole, or was the fence not all the way down? And if it was, like, something's gone there, why didn't Delia just fix the fence to stop Archie from coming in if she was so annoyed with him continually?
As a fellow owner of working dogs, you fix that hole, another hole appears. Like, I don't know how it works.
That's not a walking
Autumn's
dog.
almost made it under my house like 3 times.
That's
fine.
an animated potato. I don't think...
They're a working dog. That's what people think. And then they get corgis and they're just like, oh shit, this dog just wants to herd things constantly. They're a working dog. They're bred to herd.
Really?
What are they herding? Ants?
About turkeys.
No, sheep.
Are you kidding?
No, they're in the same group as our dogs.
Really? Don't they have
How
like really
do
short
they-
legs though?
How do they
run around?
herd sheep with those teeny tiny little legs? I don't know if you can hear that, but there's now frantic typing, and I'm pretty sure that a video is about to drop in the group chat of corgis working.
So they nip and bark. They herd sheep, but they also herd cattle.
Oh, wow.
Oh, come on. The cows wouldn't be able to see them.
Well, okay, you haven't met Autumn, but Autumn is, like, she was 11 kilos soaking wet when she was younger. She's now got up to 15, and it took a lot of work to actually get her to 15 kilos. They herd reindeer. Reindeer are fucking massive.
Wow.
Corgi versus a sheep is nowhere near, like, size difference, and it's the same with corgis versus cows. So yeah, they bark and, like, nip. They're basically like a cattle dog, but just shorter.
So they basically annoy them into where they want
literally
them to go.
that's what Lappies do. My dogs annoy the reindeer into going where they want them to go. And so we call it like a what do we call it? It's like an annoyance bark, basically, where they just bark at you constantly when they want something, and it's just like, oh my fucking god, I understand you're trying to herd me right now, but I'm not a reindeer, please shut up.
I just now have a visual of a bunch of sheep and a potato trying to run around.
But yes, people keep thinking that corgis are like such chill dogs, and it's like, no, they're a working dog. They weigh more than Autumn does.
I blame the queen.
Yeah. But yes, no, they are a working dog. If you get a corgi and think that it's going to just be a potato, you are sorely incorrect, and you're going to end up with a dog that digs under the fence all the time.
Okay. That was a very interesting
Anyway,
segue. Very interesting tangent. Back to the story.
That's a hell of a story, I'll give you that. That's what Romero says.
Romero says that he's going to have the officers take Rita back into holding, but before that they do that, his phone buzzes, and after checking his notifications, he asks Rita to show him her hands, and so she holds up her hands, and all 10 perfectly painted French manicure on her nails.
So they come out. He comes out of the interview room, and he says to Athena, like, why did you ask me about the hands? And then she explains how a piece of fingernail got caught in the gun slide, which we know that it belonged to Delia because we saw that.
Yes.
Rita had all her fingernails, but Delia didn't. So now they're thinking about that Delia ended up shooting herself.
Which it's so stupid.
It's the funniest clip when they do it, though. She manages to turn it, like, upside down when she does it.
I, went back and watched this scene so many times to try to figure out how the hell she did. I do not think it's physically possible for her to do what she did in this scene.
No.
Which is what happens is when the kids are shooting each other and her in the face with the water gun, she storms over to the patio table, which still has all the mail on it, and digs under a pile and pulls out Rita's gun. So that scene with Rita obviously happened the night before the block party. And she grabs the gun, and she's storming towards the gate to put the fear of God into those, 7-year-olds. But then someone behind her startles her. She spins around. She trips over the damn garden gnome that's lining the perimeter of the pool. And as she's going backwards, she somehow goes from holding the gun in a normal gun grip to holding it upside down and back to front in 2 hands, so that her thumb is now in the trigger guard and the barrel is pointing straight at her chest. And I honestly do not think that is physically possible.
No.
But it also sounds really unlikely. Like, it sounds like they're just, shooting the shit, and they're like, oh, what if this happened? And then they just accept that as fact. Like,
but it's funny, so I'm going to give it to them this time because, this is the sort of, like, cop story that I can get behind because it's just so dumb. Like, I hate when they're just like, oh, and then the cops came in and saved the day. This isn't even that. This is literally just, like, some good old-fashioned detective, like, dumb detective work, which is also the reason I watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so.
Yeah, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine is funny. It's meant to be funny.
I mean, this is pretty funny. It is pretty silly. Funny. Because, like, even if you accept, okay, yes, as she was going backwards, instead of, like, her arms going out in order to regain her balance, she's, doing some kind of weird magic trick with the gun. She goes backwards into the pool, and yet when we find her, she's face down.
Yeah.
And not only
Yeah.
that, but after she's shot herself, instead of taking the gun into the pool with her, she has somehow flung it away from her body so that it slides across the patio towards the bushes. Where
into the
Rita
bushes.
finds
It's fine.
it.
That was the kickback. It's fine. Don't ask.
But she had two hands on it, holding it to her
It's
chest.
fine.
It's a
It's
tiny
fine.
handgun.
It's the kickback.
It's
For the drama,
It's for the
she
drama.
ended up face down in the pool without the gun.
I am going to headcanon that they actually have no fucking idea how she ended up in the pool. This is just Rick spitballing it and going,
Yeah, that's what
Honestly,
I
the
figured.
dog
It's like,
shot her. Let's just go.
what if this is what happened? Okay, let's just take that. We don't really
Yep.
know.
that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, Athena assures Archie that not a jury in the world is going to.
Wait, because we don't know it's Archie yet, because we're like, okay, so she shot herself in the chest. I mean, it's not the craziest story that Athena has ever heard, but the only thing now that she and Romero need to figure out is who was she yelling at? Who surprised her, because everybody was accounted for out in the block party. Everybody except for Archie, who chooses that time to make an appearance in the backyard.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
Yeah. And Romero is absolutely horrified that he needs to put into his report that she was startled by a potato and legs. And that's why she died.
Yes.
And so then we get Athena saying, "Don't worry, Archie, there is not a jury in the world that's going to convict you." Mystery solved. At least.
Yay!
All right, finally it's time to get back to the Buckleys.
For more family dinner. Because, the first dinner wasn't painful enough. So we've really got to...
They're actually
Really
sitting
gotta
at the
make
table
it-
this time.
Yeah, because they've sent Albert home. So apparently they can all fit around the table.
Albert's like, I'm not going back there. You can't fucking make me. And they're like, fine.
It's really interesting that everybody is kind of sitting back in their chairs, sort of relaxed, or at least pretending to be relaxed. Buck is hunched over his plate, eyes down, playing with his food.
Yeah, he's not happy.
He's
not happy.
not
either.
happy.
Yeah, so it sounds like Chimney's been letting
war
them
stories?
know, telling war stories, like telling them what happened that day. Because we start the scene with Margaret saying that she's glad everyone's okay, and Philip saying they all seem to have very dangerous jobs. And Maddie's like, no, not really. I mean, most of the time it's pretty run-of-the-mill. And Maddie, have you seen this show?
You send them to 3/4 of the emergencies. You know what shit happens to them.
Your brother was in a tsunami a
And
year ago. Like, and under a fire truck. Like, what?
your boyfriend had a rebar through his head. I mean,
Yeah.
And
Brent,
he got stabbed by your ex-husband. Or your dead husband.
Yeah, I don't think there's
Like-
much run-of-the-mill going on.
no, not in this
There
show.
was just an earthquake and Chimney, delivered a baby under... Anyway.
She's
run-of-the-mill.
de-escalating. She's trying to
Yeah.
she's trying to downplay it. But even with their downplay, Philip says that it still seems very risky. I mean, from what he hears, Evan has spent quite a bit of time in hospital, and Buck's just like, from what you hear.
Yeah, Maddie immediately, is like, oh, here we go.
Because apparently they didn't come to see Buck in any of the times that he's been in hospital, which we know because we've been there and we've seen who's been there at Buck's side.
Yeah,
it's not-
Bobby's been there.
It's not this
Non-stop.
father, it's his other father.
His other father,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so then we get, interestingly, Margaret saying, Evan, I've told you. Buck's like, yeah, you're not good with hospitals. I got it. And Margaret immediately goes, I'm not good seeing my children in them. You don't know.
Oh, okay.
And at
now
this
I've got
point-
a better idea about what's going to happen next
But
episode.
also, interestingly, at this
Oh.
point, Maddie shuts down the conversation,
Immediately.
which is really interesting because she's always been my parents won't let me tell Buck what the deep dark family secret is. And this would seem to be the very good time for that deep dark family secret to come out, and Maddie's like, no, we're not doing that right now. So they decide that instead it's going to be gift time because the Buckleys have bought yet another gift. Well, not quite a gift.
Not quite a gift.
Not exactly a gift. It's Maddie's
so
baby
then
box.
there's a little bit of back and forth again where Margaret says that
I was pretending that didn't happen.
Maddie picked a good one this time, and Buck's like, Mum. And Margaret's like, what? It was a compliment, Evan. Chim comes back with a wooden box with the name Maddie on the lid. And apparently this is Maddie's baby box. And Margaret thought she might want to pass some of these things to her own little girl someday. Buck immediately perks up. He's like, oh, this is so cool. I didn't know you made these for us. When do I get mine?
And Margaret and Philip just sort of look at each other. And you can see Buck deflate because he realizes, I'm not getting one.
He doesn't have one.
Chimney also notices the glance and Buck deflating and tries to gloss over the situation and tells Buck, hey, you're not even a grown-up yet. They're probably still adding stuff to it.
Ha Backhanded compliments.
So yeah, Maddie's like, I can't believe you kept all this. And well, Philip says, oh, you thought we'd throw it away. Margaret, who apparently can't stop being a dick, just goes, oh, well, we may not have agreed with all the choices you made, Maddie, but we never gave up hope that you'd come to your senses, and you did. And
that just sets Buck off.
Yeah, he's done.
Buck is done. He's like, you never gave up hope? Then Maddie calls Buck Evan, which is so weird. Like, the first time I watched this, every time they said Evan, I was like, who the fuck is Evan? It sounds so weird.
Mm-hmm.
But Buck's like, you guys didn't even go to her wedding. And Margaret's like, well, she was making a terrible mistake, and we told her that. Buck's like, yeah, people make mistakes. Doesn't mean you give up on them. But you did. She married Doug, and you cut her off.
And Philip says that at the time, we thought it was for the best.
But apparently they didn't know. They didn't know that he was the way he was.
They didn't know about
They
Doug.
didn't know that he was hurting you.
So why did they think that she was making a mistake if they didn't know the real reason?
I'm assuming they're just because of who Doug was. Maybe the fact that he...
They didn't like him?
Yeah, they just didn't like him. There were reasons that they didn't like him that were outside of the fact that he was an abusive asshole. So yes, apparently they decided that just not showing up to the wedding would be enough to get Maddie to change her mind.
But yeah, they not only not showing up to the wedding, they cut her off. They stopped speaking to her completely. And this is where, Buck loses it.
Yeah, he starts at, level 10, and he's all the way up to, level 100 by the end of this scene. He's just getting louder and louder and angrier and angrier.
Yeah. You should have known.
I've never been able to make it through this scene without crying.
Yeah, it's harsh, isn't it? Hard to watch.
So yeah, Buck says, you were right there in the same town. How could you not know? Actually, you know what? Maybe it does track, because you barely knew what was going on with your own kids when we were under the same roof. Maybe you never gave up hope. You sure as hell gave up on her. You gave up on both of us. And he gets up to leave, but before he does, he turns around and he says, oh, and you want to know why I'm really in therapy? It is because I've spent my entire life feeling like a constant disappointment. And you want to talk about our jobs? You think my job is dangerous? I have walked through fire every single day of my life because of you. This is why I'm in therapy, because nothing I ever did was good enough.
And Philip and Margaret try to say that they tried. They tried with Evan, and they tried with Maddie, but literal children, never made it easy on them. And I think at this point, Maddie had kind of been on her parents' side. This breaks her. She's like, what do you mean I never made it easy on you? We were supposed to make it easy on you. We were kids. And Margaret's almost hysterical at this point. She's like, I don't know what you expected us to do, Evan.
And Buck is broken. And Buck just says, love me anyway.
And then he leaves.
He's gone. Maddie's bawling and runs to the bedroom. Chim's just awkwardly sitting there, and the acting from Oliver is phenomenal in this scene.
Before we discuss Oliver and the acting and the sort of the where this has come from, Chim is left at the table, and the last line before we cut to commercial is him whispering to himself, "Boom."
Yeah, the explosion's finally happened.
Yes, that explosion that we've been talking about all episode, where like Chim thought he was going to explode, and then we had a bomb that everyone thought was going to explode.
Then we thought that Stan was going to explode. Yeah,
we finally got an explosion. It's just come from Buck. Nobody was expecting it. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe someone was expecting. I was expecting.
Well, I mean, I don't think that Margaret and Philip were expecting it.
No.
But yeah, that "love me anyway" line, it absolutely kills
breaks me every time.
Because the thing is, Buck has learned that that's what parents are supposed to do, because he has a father who loves him anyway. He has a father who he has pushed his buttons, and he's pushed his boundaries, and he's towed the line, and he's jumped over the line, and he has made it real fucking hard for this father to love him, and yet he loves him anyway. And that's Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's seen that,
100%,
like,
it's
Bobby is not biologically related to him, but he loves Buck, and he loves him anyway.
And not only that, like, there's Bobby, who we know is more Buck's dad than anyone else in Buck's life has ever been. Buck's best friend is a dad, and, like, Eddie would kill for Christopher. And Christopher is not perfect, and Buck sees that, and Eddie loves him anyway. Because that's what dads are supposed to do.
And I think what the real kicker here is that all of these years with Philip and Margaret, Buck has internalized that he is not worthy of that love, that there's something about him that is just completely unlovable. But Bobby and Eddie and the 118 have shown him that he is lovable, that he can fuck up, he can do horrible things, he can sue everybody. And they will love him anyway. And yet his own parents can't. And he's suddenly realizing how badly his parents have fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, he already has said that they're bad parents. But now
we're seeing
taking that
the level of, like, it's one thing to say, oh, they're bad parents, and then to find out that they're blaming their estrangement with their children on their children.
Yeah, you never made it easy on us. We was kids. Like, did kids ever make it easy on their parents? Like, pretty sure no.
I cannot. I think one of the reasons that I find this scene so difficult to watch is, like, obviously I'm empathizing with Buck, but I just cannot fathom, like, sometimes I don't like my kids. Sometimes they do things that I do not like, and I don't want to be associated with them, and I'm horrified at what they've done, and it's really hard to, be around them. I still love them, though. I will never stop loving them.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they're just, like, partially really bad at communicating any of this to anybody, each other or them.
Are they bad at communicating? Something about a Buckley family secret? I don't know.
Yeah, but, like, they can't, even if they did love him as the way that he needed, they obviously haven't told him or made that clear in any way.
Definitely. Because they don't.
There's definitely, there's a very sort of, they're from sort of a very, very sort of white, very proper background. So no, they don't talk about their feelings. This outburst of Evans is absolutely horrifying them to them. I think that Margaret starts crying sort of when Buck leaves, not because he's yelled at her, but because he's committed the unspeakable sin of getting up from the table before the dinner was ending, not excusing himself, and leaving without saying goodbye. That's just completely unforgivable.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing, like, without knowing the full story, which I guess we'll discover in the next episode, like, I feel like they've been through some kind of trauma themselves, which is preventing them from being available to the children at all. But yeah, we can talk about that more when I know the full story.
Definitely.
I'm guessing.
So Buck has left Maddie's apartment, and the next time we see him, he is punching the shit out of a punching bag at the station house. While Eddie is just kind of...
Oh, yeah.
And Eddie's
helping by holding up the concrete pillar that the punching bag is next to, so, the roof doesn't fall.
He's literally, like, Buck is seriously like, ha, 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 and Eddie's just
Hands in
leaning
his pockets.
casually next to it,
Yeah.
like, unfazed. But he is being supportive best friend. So Buck's saying, tell mum and dad how you feel. It'll be a fresh start. 2 dinners. That's all it took, 2 dinners, and I'm 12 years old again, trapped between my sister and my parents, and now planning my awkward apology. And Eddie just goes, what do you have to apologize for? Did you say anything that wasn't true? Buck's like, no, and Eddie's like, well, look, maybe you could have come at it a little differently, but if that's how you feel, how they made you feel, you have every right to say so.
Buck immediately tells Eddie that he doesn't need any more therapy. He just wants to hit things. So he keeps hitting the punching bag. Eddie immediately slaps a hand onto the strike zone of the punching bag, stopping Buck. Because, as Eddie says, I've been down that road and I do not recommend it.
Oh, he's learned something.
I
Good
know,
job.
they're all
Good
growing
job,
up
Eddie.
this episode.
Oh, the therapy's working.
Meanwhile, Buck's phone has been ringing this whole time, and Eddie, Buck goes to check it, and Eddie just goes, so Maddie again? And Buck's like, yep, she's worried about me. And then kicks the, punching bag with his foot, which nearly knocks it over. And Eddie just, rolls his eyes and goes, yep, can't imagine why.
Can I just say that if this had been, season 8, Buck kicking that bag, that would have gone flying.
Oh, it would have absolutely gone flying. Oh, this is why Buck's so muscular in the later seasons. Is all the unresolved trauma with his parents still being worked out.
Okay, we got to wrap up May's storyline before we can end the episode. So we're going to cut back to the LAPD where it's the end of Athena's shift. She's about to leave, but Officer Williams waylays her and congratulates her. She kind of rolls her eyes and said, it was a corgi. We apprehended a corgi, Williams. Nobody's getting a medal for that one. And Williams is very confused because he's like, no, I'm not talking about a dog. I was talking about May. She saved a lot of people yesterday. You should be proud. And Athena has no idea what he's talking about, but she can't let him know that she has no idea what he's talking about, because that would make her seem like she's a bad mother if she has no idea what's going on in her daughter's life. She's like, yeah, I am proud.
Yep, super proud.
And then immediately runs to, I don't know where she goes to find out what the hell is going on.
Texting Bobby WTF did May
No,
do
but Bobby
yesterday?
doesn't tell her, so I don't know how she found out what had happened. But the next thing we see, she's at home and she's calling for May to come out of her bedroom because she wants to talk to her. And Athena, don't start conversations like that because you're going to freak May out.
Jump scare.
Yeah, so May comes out of her bedroom, comes down the stairs to have a talk with her mother, but when she gets to the bottom of the stairs, she can see the kitchen where her dads and her brother are waiting for her with balloons and a cake and a surprise.
Oh, it's so cute. They've got cupcakes making 911.
Yeah.
Like the logo. It looks like the logo, but made out of cupcakes.
It
I'm
really
like,
does, doesn't it?
We should have
so
had that
cute.
for our first birthday.
Apparently they didn't have time for a custom May face cake, so they went with cupcakes.
And Harry says, you saved 100 people. Bobby's like, 37 actually. But yes.
Still very impressive.
We're still proud.
Yeah. So May, Athena is proud of May for finding her way without Athena, and May says, you know what, I'm proud of me too.
Cute.
So now we've wrapped up that storyline. We've got one more scene, which is Buck coming back to Maddie's apartment to decompress after the disastrous dinner.
Yeah, I assume that the parents have left immediately.
Oh, they
they're not
better
there.
have left. I'm assuming that even if they are still in California, that they're in a hotel, because I don't know that there is anywhere in Chim's apartment.
They had an RV.
Oh, yeah.
Where do they park it? Like on the street?
In LA? Yeah.
Like out the front of Chim's apartment? I don't think that's legal. Anyway,
No,
I don't
maybe
care where they
somewhere
are.
No, it doesn't matter. That they're gone.
Yes,
Well,
don't care. They are not here.
Anyways.
We're just going to talk to the siblings. Maddie is checking in to see if Buck is okay. Buck is okay. He's mostly embarrassed, though, about the way that he went off. He doesn't, I don't know if he's apologized to his parents, but he does apologize for his outburst to Maddie, because he knew that she was trying to fix things with their parents and he probably made things worse. Maddie tries to get emotional with him and says, just for the record, you've never been a disappointment, like meaning to her. She's never been a disappointment to her. And Buck is quite evolved, but he's not quite that evolved that he can handle sort of that level of emotion from his sister. So he looks for something to change the subject and he finds Maddie's baby box. So decides that this is the perfect time to go through it.
Yeah. And he says, this was a surprise. Never knew they were so sentimental.
Yeah, Maddie says that they used to be different and happier, but maybe they weren't because you take things on differently as a kid. And at this, Buck pulls out a photo. And it's a young boy on a bike.
Yeah, we don't see it clearly, but we get enough of a glimpse of it that it's a young boy on the bike. And Buck assumes that it's him. And he's like...
Yeah, it's a little blonde child.
He's like,
and it's in Maddie's baby book.
There's the handsome devil. And Maddie starts freaking out. She's like, that's not supposed to be in there. And Buck's like, oh, no pictures of me allowed in your baby box, heart. That's selfish. But then he starts to look at the photo a little bit closer and he goes, this doesn't look like our house. Wait, when was this photo taken? And flips it over, and I'm assuming Margaret, just from the handwriting, has written the date that the photo was taken across the back, which was 4th of July, 1988. Buck's like, wait, I wasn't even born in 1988. How is there a photo of me on a bike before I was even born? Wait, that's not me. Who is this?
Maddie's, the look on her face is just like, okay, now this is it.
Yeah, she's just like, fuck it, I'm done keeping this secret.
This is the time.
Yeah.
That's Daniel. He died. He was our brother.
Dun, 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 dun.
And the pieces click into place. Well, some of the remaining pieces click into place. I'm like, oh, okay. So I still don't know how Daniel died or what happened, but that's to find out next time, I guess.
Yes. So before we go on to talk about what's going to happen next week, I know that you kind of already went through this in the group chat, but what did you think the secret was? Did you have any theories as to what the secret was? Because I know Alice had her theories, and we know that I didn't have any theories because I didn't stop long enough to think about it. But what were your theories about what the Deep Dark Buckley's family secret was?
Yeah, so I think at the end of last episode I said that I had no idea because at that point we really didn't, there were no clues. We just really didn't know. So I was sort of thinking maybe that they'd been involved in some, like something, like even a criminal thing or like a drugs or something that meant that they weren't. I do have to say that I am quite tickled by the idea of like the Buckley family mafia. Yeah. Although I'm assuming someone write that.
I'm assuming you meant more like that they were in witness protection or something.
Yeah, I have no idea. But then once they pulled the box out and they sort of said that there was no box, that like Buck didn't have one, I was like, oh, was Buck adopted? And they just never told him. But yeah, now I've got to the end, I'm like, well, I'm guessing something happened to Daniel, and now that I've heard that she said that she didn't like seeing her children in hospital, I'm guessing that he was either injured or sick or something.
Interestingly, I can't remember if I said this last episode, But one of the theories going around at the time was that Buck was Maddie's kid.
No, you didn't say it last time. I think you sent it in the group chat because we didn't want to influence Ellen.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. I didn't
Is the age gap big enough between Buck and Maddie to make that work?
It's mentioned very quickly in this episode that Maddie's only 9 years older.
Damn. It's possible,
that would have been dark.
But damn.
Well, 9 or 10 years older, because she's been keeping the secret for 10 years. But yeah, she's definitely not old enough to be.
Even if you add a couple of years for, things, that still brings her up to like 11 or 12. So no.
So yes.
No.
That would be extremely dark for 911. But
I'm pretty sure Jennifer Love Hewitt even like responded to that rumor and was just like, lol, no.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, that doesn't, like, even those theories don't explain why they wanted to keep it a secret from Buck. Like, yeah, so I'm really interested to find out. Like, I won't watch until next week.
So, yeah, fun fact, next week we're actually going to be watching this episode together.
Yeah, in person.
So poor Ellen is going to be sitting there trying to watch this episode, and she's going to have two people just staring at her the entire time waiting for her reaction.
Bex and I will not be looking at the screen.
No. Or we'll be doing that thing where we're constantly like, we'll look at the screen, then we'll look at Ellen to see if she's reacting correctly.
Yeah.
We're going to be so
like,
obnoxious.
shut up, you guys.
Yeah, we will all be in Melbourne for the first time together since we started this podcast. So we're catching up to watch an episode together.
We're also going to go see some famous people at a supernatural convention.
We're also going to meet Misha Collins, but again, like, he's cool.
Yeah,
like we've met Misha before. It's fine.
Yeah, like we're besties with Misha by this point.
It's been a few times now.
It's only my second, so he still doesn't know me very well. It's fine. I do need to start packing for that, actually, because I need to remember to bring my copy of Dean Winchester Beat Sheet. But yes, we're very excited. I'm so excited to see these two in person for the first time in 18 months, nearly.
Yay! It's been so long. Well,
way too long.
2 years. No, 1 year? 2 years. No, 1 year.
It's been like 15 months. It was March last year.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. It was boiling hot, and like next weekend it's going to be freezing. Anyway, yes. Okay. So tell us about this episode next week then.
So we will all be watching Buck Begins together. And the official summary says that the 118 raced to save the lives of workers trapped in a 5-alarm factory fire. Meanwhile, Maddie reveals a painful family secret that causes Buck to confront his childhood and answer why he is the daredevil he is today. And our triggers are, once again, because it's the Buckleys, bad parenting, death of a child, references to cancer, domestic violence, because Doug, grief, and a minor motorcycle accident, which from memory is not actually pictured, not depicted, or is it? I can't remember. There's a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
But it's minor. Everyone's okay. It's not a David Wallace situation.
All right, so it sounds like I'm going to need to pack some tissues for next
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And or a punching bag to like get out the feelings.
Yeah, hopefully the hotel has a gym and we can
just all go down. Although apparently to Eddie that it doesn't end well if we start doing that.
No, we'll just go and hit the tequila instead.
Yeah, but if okay, Chim. But if we're like taking our anger out on the punching bag, what if and like, tall, dark and handsome man comes and tells us that it's not a good idea?
Okay. That would be fine.
Ryan just appears, holds the boxing bag. It's not a good idea, and just leaves. It's like, okay.
Well, wait, come back.
I mean, like we said earlier, this episode is an excellent one. Like it's done such a good job of weaving in the themes without making it too ridiculous.
Yeah, it's great. I really liked watching. Like, the main parts I remembered were the, like, obviously the Buck stuff. But yeah, because I was the same as Ellen. I was just like, no, just get back to the secret. But on the second watch, like, I actually really liked...
you can appreciate the humour of the Rita storyline. The May storyline,
I really liked Rita.
I think it's incredibly witty, incredibly clever writing in this episode, and I love the fact that the theme of the explosion and the bomb just keeps getting dropped throughout the episode, and you just you cannot guess where it's going to finally end up.
Oh my god, I can't get over the scene of Chim just leaning back, chatting about the family secret to the bomber. Because he's like, I have to tell someone if you're gonna die, just fucking let me get this out.
And when we cut back to them, the bomber's like, and he doesn't know? That was so good. All right, so this episode's going up on the favourites list already for this season.
Definitely.
Oh, this season just has so many good episodes.
All right, so please let us know what you thought of this episode. Did you enjoy it as much as we did? Would you also
How
like
much
to...
do you hate the Buckley parents
would you like
on a
to
scale of 1
punch
to 10?
a Buckley parent and or a punching bag?
When we get to the season 4 wrap-up, we're going to have a comparison competition. Who is the worst parent, the Buckleys or the Diazes? I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation.
Uh-huh. Well, you can let us know what you thought of them. Send us an email or a comment or a DM or however you'd like to get in touch with us, please do.
Smoke signals, and you can find carrier pigeons.
Yeah, just shout. Like,
message in a bottle.
Send us a corgi with the note just strapped to them.
Oh, it's going to take them a while. They've got such tiny legs.
Go to a con in the US, tell Misha Collins, and then he will tell us next week.
He's in Amsterdam this weekend, actually.
Bully for him. He's going to be so tired next week.
Oh my god, right?
Damn. Anyway, that's beside the point. You can find...
Perform for us, damn it, Misha.
You can find all of the contact information on thatweewooshow.com. Thank you very much for listening this week, and we will talk to you next week, possibly the week after, depending on how much going to a con stuffs up the scheduling, but we'll see. It may be an extra week before the next episode. But at some point, we will come back and talk to you about episode 5, which is called Buck Begins. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatweewooshow.com.